This is Phantology.
You may have heard of us.
Hello, sentient constructs, and welcome to another episode of Phantology. In this episode, Josh and I are going to be covering books 5 and 6.
Yep, 5 and 6.
Books 5 and 6 of Cradle by Will White, and those books specifically are Ghostwater and Underlord. For context, I read these books a couple of months ago, so my memory is already fading a little bit, and Josh just finished them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks.
Okay, so you're a little fresher, right? Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's jump on into it. Josh, are we gonna do spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we can keep them pretty short because let's do spoiler-free thoughts for both books at the top, and then we'll just get into spoilers for each book. But just because I think we're talking about book 5 and 6 of a series, you know. Before we start, I just want to give a shout out to blackforestbasilisks.com. They have, or it looks like she, Christine might be her name, has posted some pretty cool summaries, both like quick summaries and more in-depth summaries that we've used as a reference to kind of remember what happens throughout each books. So shout out to her. But yeah, so not spoiler thoughts for me. Kind of just more of the same on these. Like I think I continue to like them. I continue to like excited to keep reading throughout the series, but nothing has blown me away about it so far. Like I'm still like, okay, I'm enjoying this. I'm not getting really burnt out from it, but it's not like rising to be in my top 5 book series or anything like that.
Okay, so it's not really like set itself apart in your mind from other books.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because this is definitely the first series I've really read like this. I mean, I know that there's debate, and we've had this debate about whether it's like progressive fantasy or whether it's lit RPG or what have you. Regardless, it's not much like anything I've read before, so it's hard to compare it to other things. But
we actually had somebody come into our Discord, I think after our last episode, and they talked about how this isn't lit RPG, and there were sort of some shortcomings of that genre. I think specifically about like the depiction of women, maybe how they're not really. I think that they're kind of just, along the side there to progress like the protagonist plot, whereas in this series it sets itself apart from that, mainly because of Yer and how she is kind of, an equal partner to Lyndon, and in a lot of cases even surpassing him. She's like her own character on her own journey, and I think she's very enjoyable to read. Anyways, that was an aside. I think that so according to this person, I blank on their on their name, but I really appreciate their insight. Yeah, they kind of said this is more progressive fantasy, not lit RPG.
Yeah, I think that's probably the classification for it. But yeah, anyway, I think I'd still like probably both of these books would be like in the six to 7 range, somewhere in there, like 6.5, maybe up there to 7 if I had to give them a scores. So solid, solid books. But, and again, we've talked about like the whole is more than the sum of the parts. As a whole series, it's forming up nicely. It's doing some really cool things, and pretty innovative things from my reading experience. But in terms of the individual books themselves, I'd say that they're not like they're not going to be sticking around in my memory of like, oh dang, that book had this incredible scene that I'm going to remember for years to come.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I read this series quickly, and part of that was because I really enjoyed it. So the last book is Skysworn, and I think we both agreed that was kind of a little dip in quality for us. And I think that Ghostwater picks it back up again. I liked Ghostwater quite a bit. It's a little bit more focused, right? Lyndon's in a single location, and he's I mean, I could see why some people might not like it, but it's like, very like progressive. Like he's in a location training, like, Goku in the hyperbaric time chamber. But then I I wasn't as big a fan of Underlord. I think Underlord is maybe on par with Skysworn. So it's like Skysworn down a little bit, Underlord up quite a bit, and then Ghostwater up a little bit, and then Underlord back down.
Fair. Yeah, I think that that's probably where I'm at too with it. I think that I did enjoy Ghostwater more. I did enjoy the stakes, and I don't know if we're going to get into spoilers, but there was like one specific stake in Underlord that I thought was added some urgency to the happenings of the book. So I think in that way, I enjoyed that part of Underlord quite a bit. But I think that, me, like I think Will White has like a pretty cool ability to craft these like worlds within world that allows you to like really like dive in and get a cool sense of what's going on. If there's anything like critique that I have for the series as a whole so far, is that we move past those pretty quickly, whether it's like Sacred Valley, the school that they go to at the ending of the first book, like the, just all of these different locations that are kind of, you're in there for maybe half, 3/4 of a book, and then you're like, okay, I'm out of there. And I'm like, well, I just started really enjoying that setting.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's jump into Ghostwater, because I think that's basically what you're talking about, right? I mean, it spends 90% of the book in Ghostwater, which is this artificial like world created by a monarch, which I think also in and of itself, it shows like the scale of a monarch's power. They create this pocket world that like for a specific purpose, which seems, well beyond what pretty much anybody else in the books have shown us, outside of the Abaddon. But we also see a little bit more of the factions outside of just the Black Flame Empire. We've already seen a little bit of Clan Akura, and I guess Red Moon Hall a bit, but Zeal is new. He's kind of an unknown character who's a bit different. But I don't know. I thought that the beginning was interesting too, and it shows like the scale, like the difference between, like, even though Lyndon is like, I think a high gold at the beginning of Ghostwater, he's still like, so far there's quite a large gap between them. I mean, Harmony kills that member of the Skysworn, like,
Yeah, just like with a thought, just kind of chops him in half. Yeah,
basically. And you're like, oh man, this guy is, he's scary, I guess.
Yeah. And that is that's maybe a criticism that I have of the series, is like where you feel like, oh, he's so powerful now, and then like suddenly the power doesn't even really matter, because there's like the next stage is really what he needs to get to if he's going to have any way to even, compete with what's going on around him. And that's cool at first, but when it happens just like every single book, it's like where the beginning of the book kind of gives these stakes of like from the very first book on, when he's just, what was that guy, like an iron or something, that he's like, oh, one punch from him could kill me, in the very first scene of the book, when he's like out there hunting for whatever that,
the fruit.
The fruit.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he kind of like pulls a prank on that guy, and I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes, but he's like, oh, if that punch would have landed, it would have killed me.
Yeah. I remember that a little.
It's just kind of like, more or less every single book has opened like that, where it's like, oh man, that person, if they land one blow on me, I'm dead. I need to get to their level. And then spends the whole book like trying to get to that level. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's kind of like, there are some RPGs. The one that I am thinking of, I believe, is Oblivion, I don't know if you've ever played Oblivion. It's the Elder Scrolls 4, I think.
Mhm.
But basically the enemies level up with the character. So it's like as you get stronger, so do the enemies. So you're like fighting a crab, which is like you think is gonna be really easy, but it's like, you're level 40 now, the crab's like level 39. So it's not even that much easier. Like if the enemies level up with you, what's the point of you leveling up?
Hmm.
Is that kind of what you're trying to
Yeah,
say?
yeah, that's actually a really good comparison. It's like, uh, at some, like, he does a pretty good job of being like, oh dang, yeah, Lyndon needs to, you know, progress in his power. But like you said, at the point, if everything around him is just like he still can't really do anything cool, then it's just like,
Hmm.
well, during the action, yeah, you're describing kind of maybe cooler action sequences. And I'm sure like if I took the time to like really understand like, oh, he did that move and that's such a powerful move or whatever, then um it would be like cooler for me, but I'm not like that deep into the series where that stuff really lands for me.
Hmm.
So
Well, yeah, and I think there are like some circumstances where we do see like how far Lyndon has leveled up. Um, but thinking about it, it happens, I think, more and more often as we get further into the series. So in later books, I think it becomes like Lyndon becomes more powerful than a higher and higher percentage of people. So,
mm,
whereas right now Lyndon's, I don't know, like the 40th
yeah, I think
percentile
it
or
said like
whatever.
I think he was listed like 79th or 97th or something in the list of like people that were competing in the tournament. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And so it like he gets better and better. And so there's more and more people who he's better than. But like, I mean, I think it's a fair criticism to say that, well, like I think there should be more opportunities to show off Lyndon's progression to give satisfaction to the reader. Like
yeah,
he's still at this point where he basically wins most of his fights by like being clever and like tricking them,
yeah,
you know.
which is cool. But the point of most of his actions in the book are to gain like more experience so that he doesn't have to do that anymore. And and we always bring up Sanderson's rules and stuff, and not everything has to follow those rules. But like one of the Sanderson's rules is like this more like the magic system is satisfying when it gives you the ability to solve a problem in the story. I slaughtered
Mhm.
that rule, but what I mean? Like you get satisfaction from a magic system when an otherwise unsolvable problem is solved in like a unique way by using that magic system. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Dang. Now I kind of want to find exactly how you, um,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have the Sanderson's path of his magic
yeah.
systems where they follow like well-defined rules and everything. Everything you basically understand it like scientifically,
Yeah. So,
whereas Cradle goes the opposite direction.
well, let me just throw this out there. An author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. So I was kind of wrong with that, but still kind of where an essential part of like Sanderson's magic systems are to have the magic solve conflicts within the story. And the issue, like you said, not every author needs to do that. Plenty of amazing author like books don't do that at all. Not everybody should follow these like laws, da 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 da. But I feel like in some ways, Cradle is kind of like wanting you to think that the magic system is going to be what does solve the conflicts because that's what Lyndon keeps trying to do is progress in the magic system. But like you just said, very rarely is that actually what solves the conflict.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's a matter of preference. See, I think it's like music where you have like parts of dissonance that then kind of, make it more satisfying when you hear
Yeah.
the when it's
The
like
the resolution.
yeah, the resolution or
Yeah.
whatever. And so this is kind of like more dissonance, I guess. And in my opinion, it makes like the resolution. Sorry, I'm not a musician. I don't really
Yeah.
understand music theory. But it makes that resolution in the later books like that much sweeter to me,
Hmm.
at least.
Okay.
But that's a good point. Some people might not want to wait so long.
Yeah.
So in this book, in Ghostwater, we are introduced to a character who you might have heard of. Like
I had
I
never heard of
remember
him, but
you hadn't heard. I didn't hear of him, but like looking on the subreddit, everybody is like kind of obsessed. And this is Dross, who I'm talking about. He's
yes.
like this one-eyed purple construct. And people like make plush dolls of him and
Oh,
like
do they?
all sorts of art. I'm not sure if like people do make it. There's probably like an official like Will White manufactured, and like how Sanderson has like
Yeah.
Doom Slug and other things like that. Will White has Dross.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, you know, because we just used the example of Sanderson, in my opinion, doing something a little bit better than Will White. I'm gonna say that this is what I wished Doom Slug was in the Cytoverse or whatever. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
Dross is my new favorite addition to this series. I think that it's a well-needed like dose of levity and coolness factor, and just like all around, something that does set the series apart. Not very many series have kind of this ability to add in a character that is always with the protagonist, kind of is in their mind, making kind of snippy comments, and just I
Hmm.
think it's executed very, very well. And I'm really excited about this character moving forward. And I loved it in Ghostwater. I loved him in Underlord. And yeah, that's I want to spend some time talking about. So thanks for bringing it up.
Okay. Yeah,
I,
no,
I I did
definitely.
not know it was such a big deal, but I can totally see why it's one of my favorite parts now of the series.
Well, he becomes like his own character, right? I think, just much more integral to the plot um than I don't know, than some side characters.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's kind of, in my opinion now, a main character almost, right? Like,
Right. And I think or I guess I want to ask how you felt about his sense of humor. Because we've talked about certain books recently that, the sense of humor just doesn't really land for us.
yeah, humor is a really hard thing to get right. And I haven't loved the humor so far up to this point in Cradle. I mean, it's been fine, but I think that it works for me.
Yeah.
Especially because now there's seems to be more death happening in the books now, kind of like the fights
Yeah.
now, like pretty much are going to end in death
Hmm.
for the most part. And so I think it does bring some levity into the books, which I think is needed. And yeah, I think it's executed very well.
Yeah, I mean, Lyndon kills one person, so or Akiri, he kills this dragon, and um correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that like an accident? Like he didn't mean to kill her, but something happened, and
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember exactly how it went down.
um so he accidentally kills her, and then later on with Akura Harmony, he gives Harmony the chance to live, and then Harmony basically spits in his face and is like, I'm gonna, no matter if I live, I'm gonna kill you. And so Lyndon's like, you know
All right,
what? I'm not
peace
gonna
out.
save you then. So like I think you're definitely true that like even Lyndon's getting like the stakes are getting a bit higher where it's kill or be killed.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think it was great. Um, the one kind of criticism I have for Ghostwater as a whole is that it's maybe you hear about how hard it's going to move from like gold to true gold to underlord, and then Lyndon just kind of gets a hack where he goes and is able to cycle a bunch of ghost like this material from Ghostwater, and is like, oh, I did what everybody said was going to take years and years and a few days. And it just seems like he's always able to find these kind of hacky ways around like progression, which is fine, but it just feels a little bit hollow if it happens too often. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see that, but there's no way he's gonna get to the point where he can take down a dread god by doing it the normal way.
Yeah, I guess, but he doesn't, like with Ghostwater. he didn't really have to work too hard for it. Like it just kind of fell into his lap. Like I compare it to that scene in the when he was in that, like when Ethan, can't say his name exactly right, was training him,
Ethan.
yeah, to get his like pure iron body or whatever, and he actually
Yeah.
had to go like do all that fighting and it was getting beat up and it felt like he actually earned it. Whereas this is like, oh,
You
he just,
mean you mean when he was like poisoned and
yeah,
his body was fighting off the poison?
yeah, but then he was also, was it in the prison where he was fighting all those other things that they were sending at him? I don't know. It's
Oh
been
yeah,
a
yeah,
while.
yeah.
It's been a few bucks.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it like that actually seemed like he grinded for it, Whereas this is
Uh-huh.
like he was kind of like almost on a little vacation. Like I don't know. Anyway, small complaint, but
Okay. Um, and also, I guess we should probably wrap up with Ghostwater and move on soon. But one thing that I like that we learned about Ghostwater, or learn in Ghostwater, is we see more of like Mercy's, like her family, the Akura clan's magic system, which I think is a bit more like well defined than others, where it's like they have these books essentially, and each book is like a different move, and you need to gain like mastery of that move before you level up. So I thought that was like kind of a cool, unique take on the magic system. So yeah, I essentially just wanted to talk about, I like the magic system for the Akura clan. But I like the variety of magic in this world, and even though it's not necessarily well defined, I think it's very cool and
oh yeah,
different paths. I guess I keep calling it magic system, but they're really like paths.
different paths. Yeah, it's really cool and how they all tie back to where you feel like kind of the fundamentals are the same of it. But yeah, okay, let's talk.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's talk quickly about Underlord,
Mhm.
and then we'll get on to our monthly episode. But
Yeah. So I mean, it's the world is expanding even more for Linden. Right now, there's this uncrowned tournament, which I think we've heard a little bit about before.
mhm,
Like I think Yaren has talked about her master getting to a certain
yeah,
place in the uncrowned tournament, and so now it's like kind of the qualifying part of it, where there's like this, the Akura clan has their team, the Black Flame, they're going to allow another team, right? With either the Black Flame or Seishin Empire, the top three people. So they're trying to get in that. I don't know exactly what it was for me. Maybe it was kind of disappointing. I was expecting more of like a large scale conflict between the Black Flame Empire and the Seishin Kingdom, but like pretty quickly the Seishin Kingdom basically just kicks them out of Nightwheel Valley and takes over. And so now it's like, oh, we're on the back foot again. We need to figure out how to level up without having access to it, or how to get in our top crack team of people.
yeah, I agree. Some of the conflicts, like you do, it's hinted that it's going to be like this huge, empire versus empire, and then it's like, but it doesn't actually play out like that. What my favorite part of this book was having Yaren actually be wounded, like in a pretty significant way, where it's like, oh, now she's on the clock where she has to progress Underlord, otherwise she's going to die, and that really worked for me. It was like, I didn't actually think that like Will White would kill her, but I was invested enough to where I'm like, oh dang, I really want to see, how this plays out. And it was for sure felt like there was some urgency that was kind of missing so far up until now in the series.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what happens to Yaren is she gets her life force
Yeah.
damaged by a life artist, Mira. And yeah, so she needs to, in order to recover her life force, or I guess like improve it, she needs to progress to Underlord.
Underlord, because that like reforms the soul or something, the soul and body, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah. Um, I will say that it was interesting seeing a little bit in the Session Kingdom with, like, our main point of view is Kiro, and you kind of see how he's like the honorable, responsible one who is basically just trying to do what his father, like do the best for his family and kind of listen to his father. And then he has this very brash little brother, and he also has this girl. Like, was he in love with her? Like Mira, this I can't really remember. I don't think he was in love with her, but maybe he was just
it's kind of weird.
Yeah, they had a weird relationship, but anyway, it you got to know him enough to. I was kind of sad when Kiro died.
Yeah.
Um,
It didn't feel like too big of a deal to me, but it was one of the gut punch. It was a gut punch. The bigger gut punch for me was when the turtle, whose name I'm blanking on, Orthos left. Was that in Ghostwater or was that in Underlord? Anyway, it was sad. It felt sad.
I think it's in Ghostwater.
Oh, is it?
Because I don't think Orthos is with Lyndon at all in this book.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, that was a gut punch.
The other part of this book that speaking of the world expanding, we meet another sage, right? We haven't met Akura Charity up until this book.
I don't think so.
No. So she's like the first sage, because I remember being very confused about what exactly a sage was. I was like, what level are they? Are they like a high gold, a true gold, underlord? Where do they fit in? Mm-hmm. And so that solidifies the concept a bit. Like, you learn that they're even above an underlord and an overlord. So
yeah,
that's one of the things that I like about this series is the regimented like levels, I guess is right. Progression fantasy. Well, it's nothing different from that genre. I think maybe I would enjoy more of it if I read other books in it. So we're learning, we're getting the steps or the rungs of the ladder up to Monarch and beyond. We're learning where Linda needs to go.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see that, and it does make me excited to see where he's going to go throughout the series. Overall, I know we don't have too much time to talk about this one, but
one last thing before we get to like overall thoughts, which I think we learn an important thing about them is their insights. You need to learn your core insight in order to
good call.
Advance to Underlord. And Lyndon's is, I fight so I won't be worthless anymore. What do you think about that?
Yeah. These are pretty powerful. They help you get, a read on the character. That's definitely one where I feel like, you could have figured that out if you had thought about it. Like, it totally makes sense with Lyndon's character. I liked it. And same with Yaren's, which was, you can read that one. I assume you have that one pulled up.
She says, I train in the sacred arts because I don't like people around me dying, and it hurts, and I'm afraid I'll have to feel that again. So I try to get stronger so I won't have to.
Yeah.
I think
good stuff.
Yeah, I think that like Lyndon's is like an eloquent way to put like his fears is, he's essentially been worthless from the time he was unsold, like proclaimed unsold, and it's I guess shaped him. I would have I mean, if I had tried to like guess it beforehand, I probably would have like said something along like I train to get stronger, like to help others or something like that. So I guess it's a bit different. It's a bit more internal. Like I guess his fear is that he's going to be worthless, and he's trying to.
But that's always been his fear ever since he like didn't have a path or whatever back in Sacred Valley, that he was worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's cool. It shows the character, how well the character's progressed, how he's still dealing with a lot of the same issues he's always been dealing with. I think I liked it. It's a big fan of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Yaren, I remember I mentioned this in another episode, but I had said that like Yaren's like afraid of being alone. And I think that's like kind of goes in hand with her insight. And I think she wants Lyndon to stay with her, but she's also afraid of the pain of Lyndon choosing to leave. So it's like she wants to let him in, but is scared of what might happen.
What about the scene where he walks in on her and she's topless?
I don't remember that
You
scene.
don't remember it? She was like in the she was in her tent after she was like damaged, after her life force was damaged, and
Okay.
she was topless, and he like barged in to try and talk to her, and
There's some hints of romance happening.
hints of romance, yes.
So yeah, I mean, oh, and then Orthos ends up going to Sacred Valley to help out with Lyndon's family. That was unexpected for me. I had no idea he was going there.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know if he was trying to help out or if he was trying to like bond with his sister because he knew. I don't know. I'm looking forward to see that storyline now, because I do like Orthos, as I was saying earlier. That was a gut punch to see him leave. I thought that was cool.
And this is the first time we see what's happened to Lyndon's family after he left, which is that they're basically in hiding, like the Weishi clan, or not Weishi, that's people are hunting the Wei clan. It's the school that the school that he basically
like
he and
destroyed.
Yaren, like destroyed part of it and escaped.
They're going down and hunting him. His clan. Oh yeah.
So I mean, maybe you don't like quite get that picture maybe from it, but yeah, essentially Weishi Kelsa is like, she's on the run and Orthos is going to back her up. So in the future books, we'll probably get more of a picture of what's going on there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited for that. All right. Yeah, my overall thoughts. I mean, I think I gave them at the beginning. I'm excited to see where the series goes. I'm excited for new characters like Dross. I'm excited that Orthos is still in the picture. I'm excited to continue reading it. I do hope that we get some of that payoff to where it's not just the opening of the next book or a future of every single future book is like, oh, I need to progress so that I don't feel like I'm the weakest person in the room anymore.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Great. Yeah, I liked Ghostwater. Maybe Underlord was like a little bit more setup to me, which was a bit maybe that's why I didn't like it.
I think that makes sense.
But we're setting up for the Uncrowned Kingdom, or the Uncrowned Tournament, which is, I think, one of my favorite parts of the series.
Ooh.
Is the upcoming books.
Seems like the Triwizard Tournament, but
yeah, it's similar but better.
Nice. All right.
Maybe not better to you, but better to me.
No, I mean, hey, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. All right. Oh, and Lyndon's gonna have to face off against Ethan and Yaren.
Oh yeah, dang, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah, what a good twist. I really like that. Yeah, where it's like, yeah, it's Lyndon versus Ethan and Yaren. Oh, that was great. Yeah, I'm yeah, dang, I can't believe we forgot to talk about that. Yeah. Great twist.
That's the biggest part, one of the biggest parts of the book, I guess. But I loved it too, because at this point they've been a team and we're breaking up the team. So who's more driven is what do you think is going to happen if you had to guess what was going to happen in the Uncrowned Kingdom?
I think
Uncrowned tournament, not kingdom.
I think that Ethan and Yaren are going to win with a little bit of help from Lyndon and Lyndon's.
So there's only one winner.
Oh yeah. Well, but they work as a team, right? In some ways.
They work as a team up to, and it'll get more into this in the next book, but like, yeah, you work as a team up to a certain point, and then it basically becomes like every man for themselves. But like, if you get three people from your team all in the top like 16, it's, looked on very favorably.
Right.
And depending on how far you get like better and better gifts for it.
Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, what do you think? Could you predict? Do you think one of them is gonna win, Ethan, Yaren, or
Lyndon,
or they're gonna fall short?
it seems like Lyndon wins kind of everything in the long run, but I kind of hope Ethan wins. That's kind of my hope for it.
Yeah, Ethan he's got a lot. I feel like up his sleeve, so it's hard to see him losing.
He does have a heart
at this point.
Yeah. All right. Nice. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're gonna finish up. I feel like even though we have been talking about these books for like almost an hour, we still didn't say we didn't talk about as much as they should have been talked about. Just, I guess that's what happens when you do 2-in-1 reviews.
We do 2-in-1, but I think we kind of need to with how many books are in the series, and we're trying to fit them all in. But yeah. So
I think there's a lot to be said and a lot to be discussed. And if you're listening to this, we would love to talk to you about it in our Discord. So if you want to come on down, talk to us there. If not, you can leave a comment or on your YouTube or Twitter. I don't really look at comments after that one person called me high as a kite.
I mean, hey, what are you gonna do?
What, there are worse things to be.
Hey, you weren't on the Wheel of Time episodes, okay?
Okay. Yeah, you guys got decimated there.
That'll make you get some thick skin.
Yeah, they're passionate fans in pretty much for any book series, but I think Wheel of Time probably has the greatest quantity of very passionate fans. So
yeah, and when it's placed at the center of like the culture war, it makes it a little bit toxic. But yeah,
that's true.
Right.
So come on down, talk to us in Discord. We have a lot of different forms of social media if you want to check us out there. Thanks for getting this far and listening to us. Hopefully you'll tune in next time for our review of books 7 and 8.
Nice.
Of Cradle. Yeah, we're getting up there. Talk to you later, Josh.
All right. See you around.